Things just took a disastrous turn for Terry Rozier and this Miami Heat organization. I'm here to break down the newest reports that suggest Terry Rozier was arrested this morning following game one of the NBA season. We'll break down all of the new updates that we have and really what went on with Terry Rozier, not only in the last 24 hours, but over the last 2 years to result in him being arrested after the first game of this NBA regular season. We'll break down all of that on this episode of Heat Digest. But first, please do remember to stay up to date with everything Miami Heat. Scroll down and click that subscribe button. Help us hit our new goal of 5,000 subscribers, as nearly almost 90% of you guys watching this video are not currently subscribed. We do appreciate all the love and support, so thank you guys tremendously for everything. But now let's get to it and break down this major breaking news surrounding this Miami Heat organization and specifically guard Terry Rozier. Now, Rozier has not had the greatest tenure in Miami, without a doubt. We all know that, as things have been subpar since he has arrived from Charlotte. Now, obviously, in exchange to Charlotte, we gave up Kyle Lowry and a draft pick in exchange for Terry Rozier in hopes that he would come to Miami and be that 16 to 20 point per game scorer while also being a facilitating and a ball handling point guard. Since his arrival, we have not seen that to any degree. Maybe little spurts of it, but when he's actually on the floor, the play has been subpar. And, well, he hasn't been on the court all that much because of the federal gambling investigation that he has been under for the last, year and some change. And now we have a verdict, at least to some degree. Shams went out and tweeted this just a few minutes ago, saying Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier was arrested early Thursday morning as part of an FBI sports betting gambling probe. Sources tell ESPN. The Eastern District of New York and FBI Director Kash Patel will hold a press conference at 10 a.m. Eastern Time to announce arrest for the investigation. Now, I was watching Get Up, trying to get as much information about this topic and subject as I could before coming on this channel and producing this video, so I had as much information as humanly possible. Up to this point, there is not much information after this point. Shams was on Get Up with Greeny and others and discussed how there is going to be multiple arrests surrounding the Terry Rozier investigation, as well as the other arrest that was made early this morning involved in another gambling operation in Chauncey Billups, the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers, who did coach a basketball game last night, game 1 of 82 for the Portland Trailblazers. Now, if you're wondering, did Terry Rozier play in Miami's first game of the regular season yesterday? He did not. He was inactive. He was one of the many inactive players last night for the Miami Heat, and it wasn't for any specific reason. He was just not played. There was no injury. There was no actual substantial news. I believe from the news that Shams broke down on Get Up this morning, the Miami Heat or Terry Rozier were not aware that these arrests were going to take place this morning. So again, it just came down to the fact that Eric Spoelstra and this Miami Heat team did not feel like they wanted to rely on Terry Rozier in last night's game against the Orlando Magic, which ended up being a loss for the Miami Heat, 125 to 121. A very competitive game, very high scoring for a Miami Heat team that had a lot of question marks about their offense. And again, they played last night without their star player, Tyler Hero. So now Hero is still out with the injury down at his foot, ankle area. And now another guard has fallen in Terry Rozier. Rozier all offseason was saying, just give me a chance, just give me a chance. He was showing up to training camp. He was playing in practices. He was participating. He was playing hard. And all he was vocalizing was the fact that he wanted to be given a chance. Well, he didn't even make it to game 2 because I'm not going to say the verdict was him being guilty in this case, but if you're getting arrested after almost a 2-year investigation, things are not in your favor. Now, again, going back to Greeny and the updates that we got, it's been a very interesting morning because Greeny and the rest of the guys on Get Up, which are a bunch of football guys because there is a Thursday night football game tonight in Will Compton, Taylor Lewan, Dan Orlovsky, and others with Greeny, they had to quickly segue to the basketball conversation where Greeny was bringing up how the point shaving scandal that took place years ago and how this compares to that. And then they brought Shams on, who again mentioned that there could be multiple more arrests in connections to both of these operations. One with Terry Rozier and how he, in that game for Charlotte, only played in 9 minutes and in a record time. A series of prop bets from someone who took Terry Rozier's under in basically every capacity they could cashed out, because again, Rozier only played 9 minutes in that game before then quickly exiting due to a lower foot injury. Now, that is very suspicious for someone to go out there, and I believe the number was 30, actually 30 wagers, something we broke down on this channel when the original news dropped months ago, and how we were getting new updates about this unknown participant and unknown gambler who took all of these unders on Terry Rozier, who then luckily cashed out 30 wagers in a span of 20 minutes. And I told you guys that does not happen. To hit 30 bets in a single day does not happen. I don't care if you're the best gambler on the planet. That's not, there is insider information going on, and now it seems like we're getting proof that that actually took place. And again, Kash Patel, the FBI director, is going to be speaking at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are going to get even more information about these situations. And the second being Chauncey Billups, the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, the longtime basketball player who played for obviously the Pistons and others, was also arrested for allegedly an illegal gambling operation that had connections to the mafia. Those were quotes from ESPN Get Up with Greeny and Shams and others on that show, which is drastic. This is no just slap on the wrist. I feel like both of these guys, if proven guilty, which we will know the verdict, at least it seems like at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, when Kash Patel goes on live TV or live streams his press conference, however it may play out, and gives us more information surrounding both of these guys and possibly more participants surrounding these parties. Now, we broke this down at nauseum all offseason long because we didn't know if Terry Rozier was going to be a part of this Miami Heat organization for multiple reasons. One, the play and the statistical production had gone down greatly, and it was almost to the point where Miami had to get rid of him. The only problem was he had zero trade market and trade value, if you will. Why? Well, he wasn't doing anything on the basketball court. He was just allegedly gambling on his games and giving people leeway on his games and allowing them to profit massively on the lack of performance and lack of statistical production that he was producing in those games. And why would anyone want to take the chance and give up assets for someone like Terry Rozier if in a month's worth of time or 2 months worth of time, he was going to be taken away from your team and organization and from the NBA entirely? Because we've seen this play out before with Jonte Porter and others in the association when they're convicted of allegedly illegally gambling, and then they actually are proven guilty of that. They are basically erased from the league. The contract's erased. The team is no longer required to pay it. It's basically just ripped out of the books and erased. They are removed from the league entirely and indefinitely suspended. If you'd like to use the word expelled, it is appropriate in this situation, because they are never allowed back in. It's not like it's a slap on the wrist. You can come back in a year after you serve your time. That is not how this works. You impact the integrity of the game. And once you do that, you cannot be trusted. And with that being said, you are then removed from the league indefinitely. And I agree with that entire verdict and how that plays out, because if you have teams or players going by, or even coaching for that matter, to relay to Chauncey Billups and what happened there are going to be flaws in the game, and that the competitive integrity is completely diminished and erased if that is available to these players and coaches and staff involved in the organization and association entirely. So overall, we are going to learn a whole lot more here in about 20 minutes or so from Kash Patel. But up to this point, they have been arrested, both Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier. Rozier was arrested in Orlando, Florida, following the Miami Heat's game last night that was taking place in Orlando against the Magic, which resulted in a 4-point loss, a very competitive game. And it's going to be interesting. We broke this down at nauseum the entire offseason because of the lack of trade market and teams scared to go out there and pay any form of asset for Terry Rozier if, in the end, he was going to be found guilty or even arrested for his alleged gambling operation. So we'll see how this plays out. We're going to get a lot more information here in the next 20 minutes. Remember to scroll down and click that subscribe button to stay up to date with everything Miami Heat. And I will see you guys on the next episode of Heat Digest.